So the DOJ has came out and said that they're not going to charge the cops that killed Alton Sterling, even though new details have emerged that should have brought up civil rights charges. Let's go ahead and roll the clip.
After an exhaustive, almost year-long investigation, all of the prosecutors and agents involved in this case have come to the conclusion that insufficient evidence exists to charge either officer with a federal crime in connection with this incident.
In a room packed with state and national media, acting U.S. Attorney Corey Amundson went over the facts of the Alton Sterling case in a thorough and careful manner.
Our investigation focused on one question. Did either Officer Salamone or Officer Lake violate federal criminal civil rights laws or any other federal criminal law?
Amundson says senior prosecutors, the FBI, and numerous experts were hired to review the important case. Here's what's brand new. The entire encounter between the officers and Alton Sterling lasted 90 seconds. Sterling was tased. The feds say he got up and continued not to comply with commands. That's when Officer Blaine Salamone saw him going for a gun and yelled it multiple times. Salamone shot Sterling 3 times in the chest. As Sterling rolled over, Salamone shot him 3 more times in the back. The feds say Sterling had a loaded .38 revolver in his pocket.
In addition to the shooting itself, we gathered evidence concerning the officer's activities before and after the shooting to determine whether any of that activity may have violated federal criminal laws, including the federal civil rights laws, as well as the laws against false statements and obstruction of justice.
Despite the release of information leaked to national media outlets, Amundson said he wanted to make sure that he had an opportunity to sit down with the Sterling family today, which they did prior to the announcement. Following their announcement, they called for peace.
May God bless all those involved in this terrible tragedy, and God bless the resilient and great city of Baton Rouge.
How you doing?
Good.
Yeah.
Cameron Sterling seemingly at peace, walking with his family from the federal courthouse to a waiting row of reporters. The teen telling the nation today he's relying on faith.
No matter if we don't get justice or not, we still have to depend on God, because guess what? God is an unjust God, and he will always be there for us no matter what.
The Sterling family now knows the specifics as to why federal investigators from the Department of Justice chose not to pursue civil rights charges against the 2 Baton Rouge police officers involved in Alton Sterling's death. Inside the courthouse, the family was shown key pieces of evidence, including a transcript made from enhanced police video of the July 5th shooting.
We learned some new things today. We learned that Officer Salamone walked up to Alton Sterling and put a gun to his head and said, "I'll kill you, bitch." You heard me correctly.
Y'all commanded.
The new details devastating.
Salamone put that gun to his head and said, "I'm gonna kill you."
To a family who tonight again go back to waiting, this time for the state's attorney general, who has to decide if state laws were broken.
But we think that the federal government has laid the case out for the Attorney General. And so we encourage Attorney General Landry just to do the right thing.
As I urge people to keep calm and keep the peace of the parish, this does not have to mean that we are satisfied with the status quo.
Since her first week in office, Mayor Sharon Weston Broome says she's been working to bridge the gap between law enforcement and Baton Rouge citizens.
Now, there's much work still to be done.
As one of her main duties as mayor, Broome is making sure every citizen is safe from harm, including anyone who chooses to protest. Speaking to those who are angry, frustrated, and confused by today's decision.
I understand, and I'm asking that you continue to be peaceful and prayerful.
The governor acknowledging the pain that's been extended to many in the community.
It is incumbent upon us here as Louisianans to pull together to assure peace is maintained as we continue to see this process through.
The process continues with the Louisiana Department of Justice and Louisiana Attorney General Jeff Landry.
Our goal was and is to build trust and mutual respect between the people and the police. That will only happen if we listen and engage with one another.
Expecting no less than the best from the people of Louisiana as they're faced with adversity.
Now, in Jeff Sessions' Department of Justice, this doesn't surprise me at all. You have to remember, the great Coretta Scott King wrote a letter stating that Jeff Sessions was a hardcore racist. So much so, they agreed with Coretta Scott King, and they did not allow him to become a federal judge. It wasn't black people or Hispanic people or whoever made that decision. It was other white people made that decision, and they saw what she was talking about to deny him to become a federal judge because they would think that he would not be fair at all. Now, let's look at that further. This case, if anything happens to anyone, don't expect Jeff Sessions to do anything unless the video is just so blatant and he can't worm his way out of it. Did you hear the other attorney that said that cop, Salamone, took his gun, pointed it to Alton Sterling's head and said, "I will kill you, B-word." And then he ended up doing it. If anything alone, that statement of him putting a gun to Alton Sterling's head and then end up firing 3 shots in his chest, 3 shots in his back, and no charges, no civil rights violations. Now you're going to turn it over to the state attorney. That's Louisiana. Good luck with that. I'll be shocked, extremely shocked. But I don't expect nothing out of it because all he going to do, he asked for the information from the Department of Justice. If they not going to charge him, I don't really see anyone else charge him. And if they do charge him, it's only because they're going to fear that the people are going to start tearing something up. So they want to make sure the city don't get destroyed for any reason with businesses if they should put a charge on him. But if they do a charge, you got to make sure they usually rig the juries with pro-police people so the cop can get off on a mistrial and a hung jury. It's all set up. And like we said earlier, they have put a predominantly white jury down there. Even though you have this black mayor in this town that was elected by the people, you still will have a predominantly white jury, predominantly white police department. This is the game of the criminal justice system. If we keep it predominantly white, then we'll get our way. See, that is the problem. That's what keeps this racism going. If you truly want to end racism, then everything needs to be equal. That way you can't even use the race thing as a factor because everyone's represented in the situation. But the family of Alton Sterling are pissed off. They're mad to hear that cop said that "I will kill you" and use the B word when he put a gun to his head. That's not conduct that they train officer at in the police academy to do that to a suspect. That's someone that's just a thug. And how many times he's done that and killed people in the process? These people get away with whatever, but you know what? A lot of you may be mad, but this is what I say with these situations. To that cop that did that to Alton Sterling, may his face, him dying in front of you, may that be in your mind and your heart every day. May you not get a wink of sleep. May you feel guilt for the rest of your life that you can't be a cop. That's the best way to get people like that if man don't get them, because you literally can be tortured every day if you keep seeing the image of somebody in your head that you did extremely wrong. He need that until he want to rectify it himself. It'd be better for him to go to jail, because that kind of guy like that, he don't need peace. How can you sit up there and kill somebody and go home and eat a sandwich? You got to be a cold person to do something like that. Now, they say Alton Sterling had a gun in his pocket. It was 2 y'all on top of him at the time period. You couldn't subdue him? I'm sorry. I'm one dude. And I know if I had another guy with me, I'm pretty sure I could subdue a person, even a guy Alton Sterling's size. If you can't subdue a person without pulling out a gun, then you need to go to the weight room. You need to go get some training. And I don't understand that. How is it you a police officer, a lot of these guys, and yet some of these guys have more weight than me? I like how the Marines is. Marines, you got to be a certain weight to be a Marine. And I think cops need to be like that too. They should be able to run a mile, 2 miles, and no problem. But you got guys supposed to be, that's why they're so quick to shoot you, because they don't want to run and they don't want to wrestle with you. I don't really get that. But, you know, we got this I'm afraid for my life culture out here, a bunch of people who's scared for every little thing. but they have no problem being a thug and sticking guns to people's heads and say, I'm gonna kill you, B. I'm saying this is just blatant right here. That guy actually got federal charges for that alone. Leave me a comment. Let me know what you think about the Alton Sterling situation. Share the video, like the commentary, and subscribe for more news stories.